Hello everybody, and welcome back to a video. 2020 in a nutshell for me, for moi. So I do this every year, as a lot of YouTubers do. They say, goodbye old year, hello new year, and that is what I'm gonna do once again today. Now, I'm going to go over what happened in the year, what good happened in the year, what majority bad happened in the year, and then I'm also going to explain like my interests, what I got back into, my resolutions for this year, and how many I completed. I'm currently recording this on Christmas, and I guarantee nothing huge will happen within just a couple of like a week and a half. So I'm just gonna go ahead and record it now, and if something huge, life-changing happens, I will put it in text at the end of the video. So let's go and get into it. Alright, so let me go ahead and go all the way back to January. I know. Wow, that is a long time ago. Honestly, I don't even remember what months are. January, February, March, blah 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 blah, and then December. So January, everything was fine. I was still in school. I was, having fun with my friends. No masks. Wow. February, same thing. No masks. Wow. And then March. And, honestly, those first couple months were awesome. I was really just hanging with my besties and rounding out the year with some of my very good friends. And I'm never gonna see half of them again. But then March hit. It really hurts me going back to all these months. Because do y'all remember when they said, "Oh, it's only gonna be a 1 week lockdown, 2 week lockdown, 3 week lockdown"? Okay, it's gonna be a couple months. So that is what I'm going back to. I am obviously in school, so basically what they said on Friday, I think it was a Friday, and we were just hanging out in homeroom, playing ball. We literally were throwing around a beach ball because our homeroom teacher was cool like that. They essentially said at the very beginning, we all knew COVID was in the United States, and we're all like, oh, it's probably just gonna be another one of those, like, weird flus or whatever. It's gonna be fine. And it wasn't fine. Little did we know that a lot of people would be dead and a lot of people would be out of jobs, and this whole year would suck a donkey's arse. It was just a normal week, and then at the beginning of the week they're like, hey, we're going into a 1 week lockdown, only 1 week, bring as much stuff as you can just in case this goes longer, and bada bing bada bam. So essentially all we did was get prepared for what could have been and what was a really long period of online learning. And so on Friday we were just hanging out in homeroom. We had all of it, essentially all of it, all of everything that was in our lockers. Remember lockers? In our bags. And we all kind of like, I would like to say I predicted the future, sadly, because me and my friend were right next to each other, and I was like, "Girl, I don't think we will be able to see each other for a while. I don't think we're gonna come back, and see you later." Essentially is what I said. And like, see you next year. And she's like, oh, it's gonna be fine, it's just 1 week lockdown, it's gonna be great. And then 1 week off school. So I try to pep up my spirits and not think on the bad side for change. And I was like, 1 week lockdown, this is not gonna go well, knowing just the science and the logistics of having only a 1 week lockdown within something that completely conquered Europe at the time, and Asia as well, mainly Asia. And again, at the time. I'm talking March here, y'all. Oh, it was just like, oh, 1 week lockdown, and I tried to pep on my spirits, and literally I could generally cry thinking about, like, it was more like April instead of like March, April. So it was more February, towards the end of February, that we ended. And that was the hardest I've ever laughed in that room. And the sad thing is, I'm probably never going, not even probably, I'm never going to sit in that room again. I'm never going to get normal that grade back. I'm never going to get that normal end of year stuff, because we were literally going to go on a field trip on the very last day, and I was also going to go to a New York, Washington D.C. trip. It was $1,000 of my family's hard-earned money put into that trip that I never was able to go on. And that really, really sucks. I'm still disappointed on that, because my overall life goal is to obviously make a living off of YouTube and travel the world. And that was going to be my start on the United States, but Miss Rona decided to come at the worst possible time. I tried to blend in with the crowd as much as I possibly could and be like, yay, 1 week off, because everybody was like, ooh, it's just going to be a week. I'm going to get some nice sun, or whatever normal people do in February/March. And everybody was just basically preparing summer break plans, essentially, just a tad early. And then after that week was up, that we were supposed to be back, then they said, okay, 1 more week and then you'll be back in school. And that's what we did. Essentially, online learning was just a bunch of bull. I didn't really learn much of anything. Maybe my history teacher taught me a couple things, but otherwise, I didn't really learn much. Obviously, this was not expected. Nobody was expecting a multi-month lockdown because of a virus in 2020. Nobody was expecting that, especially the teachers. For those teachers out there, I salute you. You are the true heroes of this pandemic. Obviously, the healthcare workers as well. But there's so many people that have helped us throughout this year that I really need to thank. But that'll come towards the end of the video. Teachers get all the slander because they're not prepared, they're not doing this, they're not doing that, but they're really trying their best. Nobody expected this, and it's crazy that they even had to experience that in their lifetime. And so I basically didn't learn anything, and then after that 2-week thing was up, I was like, hey, please, could we go back to school? Nope, 3 weeks. Nope, 4 weeks. Nope, 5 weeks. So essentially, towards the end of May, always for school, and up till the very end, they're like, hey, what if all this magically gets better, and we totally weren't just in a 3-month lockdown. So what if we all went out to this park that's right in this area, and we all just hang out? And that's what I was really hoping for, because I would love to see my teachers and my fellow students one last time. But no, Corona decided to soar. She decided to flap her wings. During that time frame of May and June, I always go to Texas, because I have some family that I hold very near and dear to my heart in Texas. And I wasn't really too scared or shocked. I mean, I was shocked, but I wasn't really scared or like, about coronavirus. I wasn't stockpiling on toilet paper like everybody was. I was just kind of like, hey, I gotta do these certain things to keep others and myself safe. I'll do those. And I wasn't really like, germs. I was always a germaphobe, but I was never a huge, I have to spray everything down until this year. But I was like, hey, I know you're kind of like, in the vulnerable stage of people with this virus. I really don't want to get you sick. I would never forgive myself. So, yeah, what can we do? Like, how can I, substitute this? When can I go next? Let's just see what happens. And I essentially went on to the WHO, World Health Organization website, almost nearly every single day to see what the COVID numbers were doing, see if they were going up, see if they were going down. I was essentially monitoring that for a good couple weeks until I realized this isn't getting any better. This is actually getting progressively worse. And I follow the top scientists on Twitter, on all the social media platforms I possibly can, and because, I trust science. And they all said, hey, this is going to be really bad in the summer. You think it's really bad now? It's going to get worse in the winter, because obviously viruses thrive in the cold, because, the heat, it's basically just like It's basically just like plastic. That's a really bad example. If you leave it out in the heat too long, it's going to melt. But if you keep it in the cold, it's going to be fine. And that's essentially what this virus was. And they're like, hey, don't travel. I mean, they weren't really big on not traveling. So I essentially said, okay, I need to take this trip for my mental health. Because every day, essentially every day, before I went to bed, I checked those stats, and they were always like a wave, but then they shot up. And I was like, God, this is not getting any better. And so I essentially just said, hey, I'm going to quarantine for 2 weeks, because that's what the scientists recommend, and I'm going to go down there, spray everything possible I possibly can down to keep everybody in my place safe, and then I'm going to come down there and be a happy camper, because that is where I'm most happy, is in front of my computer and in Texas. So I quarantined for 2 weeks, and I in fact packed a towel, because I was going to cover my airline seat with a towel, because that would definitely prevent me from getting a virus. And then I would immediately put that towel back into my bag, where I would get the virus all over my clothes. So I didn't really think much about it. But I sanitized the seat, I sanitized the tray, I sanitized everything I touched, and I even sanitized my hands, and that's why they're so dry now. I just sanitized everything I possibly could, and I flew down to Texas. And obviously, Colorado and Texas are a very different place, not only because of climate, because of the things they were doing against coronavirus. For example, our governor Polis, he initiated a mask mandate, and you were supposed to wear a mask or else you would get fined, and you would even be turned away service from certain, not even certain, all stores, because if you weren't wearing a mask. And then I gone into Texas, nobody is wearing a mask, everybody is going out, and I was like, oh, this was like 2019 before a virus. Like, how am I supposed to react here? I'm a Coloradan going from full on masks, essentially almost a zombie apocalypse state, to 2019, no masks, no social distancing, no nothing, before we even knew anything about that. And so essentially, I got off the plane, I hugged my family members, and they were like, why are you wearing your mask? And I was like, because it's a law. Because I have to. Because it keeps others safe. And they're like, oh no, we don't do that here. I'm like, excuse me, you don't wear masks? And I was like, oh my god, what is happening? What is happening around me? And they're like, oh yeah, you don't need your mask, but you can have it if you're comfortable with it. And I was obviously very comfortable with my mask, but then I was like, it's not going to protect me, because nobody else is wearing a mask in here. So I essentially just put on my mask, and until I got to the car where I knew I was safe with my family members, because they also kind of kept generally safe, so none of us would get COVID. Basically the whole time I was there, I tried to social distance as much as I possibly could, because I felt like an outsider. I never have felt like an outsider, in a different state ever before, until this year, because I was literally, just everybody wasn't wearing a mask except for me. Like, I was constantly thinking about, like, I need to hold my breath when the person is next to me. I need to socially distance right here and here and here. Nobody was probably thinking about that. They were like, ooh, nice weather. This is great. This is grand. But, I didn't wear a mask the whole time I was there. And, then I went to a very, very, very small and socially distant concert. And, then I went to, like, all these different stores. We wore our masks at different various stores, but otherwise we didn't. And then I kind of hung out at their house, and I had a ton of fun, and it was great. And that really, as much as it was stressful, constantly thinking about I might catch this virus and give it to somebody, other than, the constant thought of death on my mind, it was absolutely the vacation I needed, because the school was super important to me. That's where I grew probably the most out of my whole entire life. I grew the most there, and I really was very like weird to not be able to say goodbye to so many important people in my life that I'll probably never see again. And and seeing all my happy family members in Texas and seeing like the normality of Texas was alarming, but also kind of relieving, because it kind of just took me back to January in 2019, where we just kind of all didn't really think about that, and we just kind of were with people. We weren't really worrying about, I have to wear my mask, I have to social distance, I have to disinfect this, I have to disinfect that, and it was really nice. And then I came back, I disinfected everything that I got, and I just hung out the rest of the time. My summers don't usually consist of any travel, or anything except for that. So I basically just binge watched a ton of stuff. I worked on videos, I streamed, and then July, because right towards the end of July, I was like, I'm not going back to school, am I? Because once again, Miss Rona said, hello, and skyrocketed. It was like, I'm probably not going back to school, am I? I can't. And one good thing did happen this last summer, oh yes, that summer, 1986, like, it literally was just this year, was that, I've always been very, this is gonna be like, ooh, sappy, heavy, but, this is where I can vent and be myself, so that's what I'm gonna do. My whole life, I've kind of been very insecure about my body, and I've never really taken anything against it or to do with it, because I never really had that encouragement that I needed to actually even get started in the first place. And so essentially, whenever I thought about my body and myself, I would just binge eat and binge eat and binge eat. And it sounds like I'm saying Benji, but I'm saying like I ate and I ate and I ate until I literally felt sick. And I wouldn't throw up. I didn't have an eating disorder. I just kept eating. Whenever I was sad, whenever I was happy, whenever I was any emotion, angry, gleeful, whatever it was, I would always eat. And my whole life I've had those things available to me, luckily and also sadly, because, not a lot of people have food. I'm one of those people that can have food, a roof over my head, and I'm very fortunate to have all that, but having all that junk food constantly available to you was not very nice, because it was always there just staring at you like, come eat me. And I couldn't stop. I just would be like, ooh, Cheetos, ooh, Airheads, ooh, all this junk that literally has no nutritional value. Finally, in 2020, one of the worst years in everybody's lives, I finally got that kick in the ass that I needed to start weight loss. And no, by any means, I was not fully unhealthy. I was not overweight. I was just not healthy in any way. I wasn't overweight, but I was unhealthy. I was definitely on that trajectory. And I hate working out ever since I got diagnosed with asthma. I mean, not even ever since. My whole life, I've hated working out, especially when I got my first asthma attack, pneumonia. I was like, I'm never working out again. Peace. I'm not doing this. But I just kind of just gradually increased the amount of work I was doing, and weight loss came, and I also ate healthier, and weight loss came. And that is one thing that I will say over and over and over in this video, that was the highlight of my year, was finally looking in the mirror and not saying, yeah, you're kind of ugly, you're kind of an ugly bitch. I finally said, wow, you look great. This is awesome. Definitely this year took a huge toll on my mental health, but my physical health was never better, which is kind of weird, because if I looked at my 2019, 2018, all those years, myself, and I told them, hey, we're going to be in the middle of a global pandemic, and you're going to be stuck with all these people, and I would just immediately start shoving food in my mouth, and that's what would happen. And now I don't binge eat at all. In fact, I binge drink. I constantly drink water, and I'm drinking orange juice and cranberry juice and all this different juices, which sounds really bad, but it's not. All these different things that, actually help my health, instead of just drinking all this different, like, sodas, like, just like, just drinking all that different soda. It didn't only damage my weight, it also damaged my teeth. So I have 20 something cavities because of my unhealthy eating habits. So now hopefully, let's hope I will not get any more cavities because I am starting to eat healthier. But anyway, back to July. All of July, I was like, hey, I always start in like the first or second week of August. That's coming up. And I started like stressing about like, oh god, this first year at a completely new area, and this is all gonna be really stressful, and exams, and even though I didn't even start yet. School actually did start. There was various emails going from the district to families, the district to families, the district to families, and they all said different things. The district still has no idea what's going to happen, and they all just sent out those emails and sent out those emails and sent out those emails, and finally they got to a conclusion where we would be divided into separate groups, one having a certain amount, another having another amount, and we would all just wear masks, socially distance, and we could all get back into school. And that failed! What a surprise! Because teenagers do not listen. If you are a viewer of mine, you know I'm still in school, which kind of has to mean I'm a teenager. So, I listened the best I possibly could. Sometimes you just kind of walk in line, and you're like, oh, right, pandemic. Because, you're so used to being able to live, without having to socially distance. But, school started, we had to carry everything around, all of our supplies, because we did not have lockers, because the janitorial people did not feel like cleaning them, which kind of doesn't make any sense to me, because just have us disinfect it. I will literally go around the whole entire school and disinfect all of those lockers for you. I will not have 100 million pounds on my back, because literally, I walked up the stairs and I almost fell down multiple times just because of the weight that was on my back. And, so we didn't have lockers, so we had to lug around everything we possibly could. And my friends were like, oh, why do you have all that stuff? And I'm like, because I need it. I don't know what the lesson plan is. I don't know what I will need in the day-to-day basis, because they're horrible at communication, and I just don't know what's going on. All of this expected it to last 1 to 2 months at most, because, like I said, teenagers do not listen. They are horrible at listening, and they will all go against your rules. If you tell them to do something, they will do something else, and that is something that I think most adults should know, especially teachers. It lasted up until, well, towards the beginning of December, which was actually more than we ever thought would be possible. We started around August 9th, around that time, and then we went all the way to December, maybe 10th? December 2nd or 10th, I can't quite remember. But, it went longer than we expected, moral of the story. And it actually went pretty well. We didn't have any COVID cases until probably November, September, somewhere around there. At least we weren't as bad as the school that waited until 200 coronavirus cases to shut down. Yes, 200 coronavirus cases to shut down. It was insane. And I was like, what is the world we're living in? We shut down around the time we got news of a vaccine, I believe. So if that gives you any timeline, that's when we shut down. Because we had 5 coronavirus cases, half of our staff and students were quarantined, and then they're like, oh, maybe we should shut down. Which is dumb, but again, at least we weren't the 200 case school. But that is when we shut down. The whole time I was there, I was constantly stressed because a ton of kids did not care. Once again, there was literally people sitting on each other's laps at lunch, which was the only time that we could take off our masks. So they're like, woohoo, Corona. And I tried to socially distance from my table as much as I possibly could, because they were also those people that honestly did not care. A lot of people had masks under their nose, and I'm like, hey, that does nothing. That it literally defeats the purpose. Might as well just take off your mask and spit all over me, because that does nothing for the virus. Essentially, nobody cared, as I expected. Nobody communicated what we needed to do. I had tests that I was not prepared for because I didn't know where to find the study guide. I also did not care. I didn't care, but I also didn't know where the study guide was, so it was kind of impossible for me to care. And then, I got great news. The very first time of December, Mr. Iglesias was coming out with another season. It's honestly kind of sad that my very highlight of 2020, not my weight loss, not my mental health, kind of improving. Nope, it was Mr. Iglesias Part 3. That was my highlight of the year. And that was actually genuinely the highlight of my year because again, if I remember correctly, even then, even if it was that next week that we shut down, there was still rumors and news going around that, hey, we're getting a lot of coronavirus cases, not even just in the school, in the whole district, in the whole county, in all of Colorado. These cases are going up and up and up and up. And we're probably going to have to shut down. And that was going around for multiple weeks, even in November. And we didn't until the very last minutes. So, I had that news. I was like, oh, this is great. Once we shut down again, I'm going to have online school. What? And then I'm going to be able to immediately go and watch this new Parts. It only had 5 episodes, but they were the best 5 episodes of my life. But online learning was also a bitch. Again, I couldn't find anything. They were very horrible at explaining. Finals was horrible because I didn't know half of the things that they asked me. And then, bada bing, bada bam, I was on winter break, and I still am. I probably will be until my birthday ends, until the 4th, I think is when school will probably start up again, or start up again, whether that be online or in person. But I had a ton of TV shows and YouTubers that got me through 2020. I literally would not be here without them. So, just look at my subscriptions and thank all of them. And Netflix, thank you very much. I think you saved a lot of us in this 2020 crazy year. And yeah, this is a really, really long video, but I'm going to wrap up by saying 2020 sucks. It was the worst year, and I literally hope to never be alive for such a horrible year again. But there was a lot of ups to it. My mental health did get increasingly worse, but it did get slightly better towards the end here. I'm like, the holiday season always ups my mood, but especially this year, knowing that a lot of people are really going out of their way to make people feel welcomed and happy, especially in such a horrible year, it is really awesome. And like in the summer when lockdown was happening and you could barely go out without, like, you couldn't really go out, there was all these nice little videos that you could see of people like waving through the window or holding up signs, and or like in California where there was a lot of like horns and like for healthcare workers and thanking them. And that was probably the highlight of 2020, was the fact that we all kind of got brought together by this. We all did not expect this year in the slightest. We all didn't like this year in the slightest, but we all came together, and we worked towards a common goal of defeating this virus. Plus, the Black Lives Matter movement, the way it sparked was horrible, but we need that movement so we can have equality. And it was awesome to see, even in COVID, everybody was marching as safely as safe as possible, and fighting for what's right, and that's awesome. And I think that's what really we should see the world as, not like this horrible place, all these horrible people, all these horrible things. We should see, look, there's people coming together to fight towards a common goal, whether you're white, African American, Asian, it doesn't matter. You all came together to fight towards a common goal. And it's awesome that we could do that. And it's awesome that we're slowly but surely going towards gender equality and sexual orientation equality. And it's awesome that we could all like see this happen right before our eyes. And it's awesome that we could see it. But it shouldn't happen in the first place. Discrimination, whether it's your gender, your sexual orientation, or your race, that shouldn't happen in the first place, but it's good that we're working towards a common goal to defeat it. I know for sure, like video games, as far as that goes, creators met other creators that they can't wait to meet in person, which is awesome to see. I kind of reached all my resolutions. My 2020 resolutions were saving up a certain amount of money so I can move, learning new things each day, have more, just being overall more positive, reaching a certain amount of subscribers, which I think was 430. My goal was 430 at the beginning of the year, and now I'm at 787 the last time I checked. What in the hell? That also blows my mind. I completed that goal. Actually, not even completed that. I didn't complete that. You guys completed that without even knowing it existed. You smashed it. You were like, hey, 437? That's horrible, dude. And then you just smashed it out of the water. And it's awesome. Thank you guys so much for the support. Even in 2020, you guys supported me, and that's awesome. Thank you guys so much. Yeah, this year sucked, but there's also a lot of good things that happened in it. And not only for hopefully for you guys, but for me personally and for the world. There was certain movements that needed to be sparked, and we need to continue to fight for even after this pandemic is over. Yeah. Thank you guys so much for the support this year. You can't even imagine what it means to me, and you can't imagine what this YouTube channel in general, not only in probably the hardest time I will ever go through. You can't imagine how awesome it is to see great video. I love this song. This reminds me of blank and blank and blank. I love those comments, and I just I love you guys. I know it's super sappy, but I truly do. I really appreciate you guys. 2021, more like 2020 fun. 2021 fun. That was horrible. You guys know what I was going for. Let's just hope and work towards 2021 being a really great year, even if it takes until July. Let's hope that it's a better year, and we could hopefully by this time right now we can see our family, and we could go out to parties and stuff without our masks and nice vaccination. 2021 goals, number uno, get it to at least 830 subscribers. What about that? And then money-wise, I would like to save up at least $1,400 for moving and grooving to Texas. Probably continue my weight loss journey. As much as I am in a happy place with that right now, I would love to continue it. Also, continue being more positive. That's definitely an issue for me. And that's about it, honestly. I just kind of really want to just work and work and work and just, yes, punch 2020 in the face and say hello to 2021. And at the end of the year, we're going to punch 2021 in the face. And then we're just going to continue that motion and saying, hey, we defeated another year. Let's go. Speaking of defeating another year, I'm very genuinely proud of you guys for making through this year. Because it's probably one of the most difficult ones that we're ever going to have within all of our lifetimes. So I'm very proud of you for making it to the end. And yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you had the best year as much as you possibly could. Yeah, so like, comment, and subscribe to join the awkward team today. And I love you guys very much. And I hope to see you in the next one. So long for now, my awkward team.